Okay, so that turns it up. That turns it down. Okay, we're gonna turn this bitch down because that was loud as fuck. What's going on, everybody? It's NFL boy Brandon and Mr. McDolphin is sitting right next to me. We are back for episode 2 of season 2 of the NFL Boy podcast. On this week's episode, we're gonna be breaking down our top free agents, and we're gonna be going over some stats, and we're gonna be talking about which teams we think fit them the best. But before we get to any of that, I got some breaking news here on the channel, Dad, that I wanted to ask you about. It broke just a couple of hours ago. The Washington Commanders have granted Jonathan Allen permission to seek a trade. How are you feeling about that? I thought that was big time news because that's one of their best defensive tackles that they had on their defensive line.
Yeah, sounds like they're gonna make a push for Myles Garrett.
I could definitely see that now that they're giving him permission to seek a trade.
Yeah, that's it. It's interesting. That defense needs quite a bit of work. So
yeah.
Yeah. That's definitely interesting. Definitely something to watch out for.
Yeah. And you guys know if anything comes of that and Jonathan Allen does end up getting traded, we will be bringing you the news live here on the podcast. But anyways, we're going to be going over our top free agents and breaking down what we have. So I'm going to turn it over to Mr. McDolphin, and he's going to break his list down to us.
Yeah, all I did was first of all, the free agency list this year is not very impressive. I mean, there's some cool 2 or 3 big names that I like, but that's really about it. So all I did was I took my 12 favorite offensive free agents and 12 favorite defensive free agents. No certain order because I split them up into positions. So I figured that's what we can do. If that's cool with you, Brandon,
Daniel,
we could talk about favorite quarterbacks, wide receivers, running backs, offensive line, the rest of offensive players, and then some defensive players. That sound good?
Definitely down. Yep.
What's up, Gus? Cool.
What is up, Uncle Gus? Hey, listen, okay? I forgot to tell you, and I actually meant to text you. We're coming down to visit you guys. I think it's going to be me, Ashley, Travis, and the boys are coming down to visit you guys in June, and I'm going to be bringing you your money then. So.
Oh, money from him winning the fantasy football league.
Yes.
Still waiting to get paid.
Listen.
There you go. There you go. All right, cool. So you ready to jump into this?
Yeah, I am. Yep.
Some of them will overlap a little bit from the episode we had last week as potential tag, because the trade partners we talked about last week. One of the tagging trades we talked about was Sam Darnold. So Sam Darnold is set to be a free agent. He had a really good year this year, leading the Vikings to the playoffs. 4,300 and like 94 yards, 35 touchdowns, and only 12 interceptions. Where do you fall on a Sam Darnold fan? Do you think that was a one-time thing? Do you think he's just magically a better player now, or do you think he needs to be in the right system? So what do you where are you at with Sam Darnold? I have my opinion on him.
To be honest, I think it was a one-time showing. Now, I do think if he gets in the right system, he could potentially put up numbers like that again. But it has to be a system like Kevin Stefanski, excuse me, Kevin O'Connell is running over there in Minnesota. It has to be a certain system like that. So
Yeah, but that offense, tons of teams run it. The Rams, San Francisco, Miami. You know what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
so you think it's that system? As long as he has that system and a
I
good
think
coach,
that
he can.
system he has his best opportunity to put up numbers like that again. But knowing the history of Sam Darnold, I think he's gonna suck next season.
Okay. All right. I'm kind of there with you. I don't know. He has to prove it to me. You know, he had a good year. Can he do that? Is that the Sam Darnold from now moving forward? I don't see that. I have a pretty wild idea of where he could end up, though. You want to hear it?
Where?
Okay, so from our episode last Tuesday, when we
Yeah.
talked about trade partners, we talked about Matthew Stafford being traded, right? And I had him going to the Giants. What if the Rams go after and get Sam Darnold?
I could see that.
Yeah. So they just got a lot younger at quarterback. That's it's an idea. That's definitely an offense that he would flourish, you know.
Yeah.
So
Well, now that you mention that, I could definitely see him going to the Rams. But the team that I actually have him landing on is, again, I don't know how he would flourish in the offense because they are a rebuilding team. But I have him going to Cleveland. I think Cleveland's going to bring him in.
Cleveland definitely needs a quarterback, and they need a cheap
Yeah.
quarterback. So because they don't have a lot of money.
He put up really good numbers. So as Kevin Stefanski's going to see that and be like, "Oh, we may have found our quarterback."
Yeah, I mean, if he goes to Cleveland, he'll tank. He won't. We won't see him and be. It's just my opinion. I think it's all about the system that he goes to, and if he went, somewhere like San Francisco, who doesn't need a quarterback, but that's why I think the Rams, I could see really thinking that they could have he could play just as good for them as he did for Minnesota last year. So
Yeah.
it's pretty interesting. Next up is probably my favorite free agent quarterback, and that's Justin Fields. Justin Fields didn't really have an opportunity to start. He was starting while Russell Wilson was hurt. It was always the plan for Russell Wilson to take over the starting position. And so he only has a little over 1,000 yards, only 5 touchdowns, with 7 interceptions, but he has 289 rushing yards. So I think a team is gonna. I don't know. If my team needed a quarterback, I would take a flyer on Justin Fields. How do you feel about Justin Fields?
I actually really like Justin Fields. I think he is by far the best quarterback um in this whole free agency class of quarterbacks. I don't understand why Pittsburgh didn't let Justin Fields start the season, or at least okay, so Justin Fields was doing really good for Russell Wilson, and then Russell Wilson gets back to health, and you're like, okay, I kind of understand why they put Russell Wilson in there over Justin Fields, but why didn't you just re-sign Justin Fields and make him your quarterback?
Yeah.
So I don't understand why they're letting Justin Fields go from Pittsburgh. But okay, so I will start this one, Dad, where I think he's gonna fall, and it's actually hilarious because you was just talking about the team, but I have Justin Fields going to the Los Angeles Rams, and I actually posted something in the group, in the Facebook group earlier, that he's the second odd favorite to land as the Rams quarterback heading into free agency right now.
Yeah, I can see that. I like that. The Rams want to get younger. So Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, those guys make sense. They're a whole lot younger than Matthew Stafford. So I think he would be great in LA. Honestly, I think he'd be great. I want to address Gus. He said my team does need a quarterback, and you are correct, Gus. You are correct. The the team leaders believe we need a backup quarterback, but there are Dolphin fans like myself that believes we need a starting quarterback. Like I would much rather have Matthew Stafford than Tua Tagovailoa by far. If that was to happen, that would be pretty awesome, but never going to happen. Anyway, Justin Fields. I got my idea with Justin Fields is basically the way you started off, where you said you didn't understand why Pittsburgh did not keep him in as the starter. I think there's a pretty good chance that Pittsburgh keeps him and he is the starter moving forward. You know what I'm saying? Because they want to go young, they want to go fresh. They have a dual threat quarterback. So I think there is a pretty good chance that Pittsburgh keeps him and makes him their quarterback moving forward, and then they'll, get a good backup quarterback. But another team that I would really like to see Justin Fields is the Raiders. That would be cool as hell.
Okay.
So, yeah. I would like, cool I have an idea. Actually, next up, my next free agent is Aaron Rodgers. And we could talk a little bit about Aaron Rodgers. A lot of people don't understand this, but Aaron Rodgers.
Okay, hang on. Before we get to the Aaron Rodgers thing, I got to ask, what the hell happened to your fingers there, sir?
What?
We see them bandaged up.
Yeah, I just cut them. It's fine. I don't want to see Tua get hit in the head ever again.
I mean, that's true, dude, because I'm honestly afraid that if that man does get hit in the head again, I honestly think we might see him die on the football field.
Okay, well, so to Gus and to you, I've accepted this as a Dolphins fan. You all care about it a whole lot more than he does. He don't give a shit. He said he would die for the game. I said you're freaking nutcase if you think that, but that's what he said. Those were his words. It's pretty dumb. I'm over him. I never thought they should have signed him to the long-term contract last year, though, but they did. So they're kind of stuck with him for now, and he'll prove that he can't stay healthy again. But it is what it is. They do need a backup quarterback, like the best backup quarterback. But these guys we're talking about are not backup quarterbacks, so that's why I'm not talking about them going to the Dolphins. Okay, Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers actually had a sneaky decent season. He wasn't a bad quarterback. He was an average quarterback, which is way below average for Aaron Rodgers. But he had a lot better season than Russell Wilson did. You know what I'm saying? He had almost 4,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, and only 11 interceptions. But the reason why I'm bringing him up is because of what I was talking about with Justin Fields. I believe one of those two will go to Pittsburgh and the other one will go to the Raiders. You can switch it either way you want. So the Raiders could take Aaron Rodgers, draft a young quarterback, keep him, and use him as a bridge quarterback, or they could pick Justin Fields, and I could see Aaron Rodgers going to Pittsburgh. So, what do you think about that? Do you think Aaron Rodgers do you think Aaron Rodgers is going to retire, or do you think he's going to play?
I think Aaron Rodgers is going to try to play one more year. I think if Aaron Rodgers does decide to play one more year, I think the only team that I could possibly see wanting him is the Las Vegas Raiders. They asked some young player for Pittsburgh, how he felt about Pittsburgh possibly getting Aaron Rodgers, and he said, I quote, "Leave that motherfucker in a nursing home or in a retirement home."
Right,
is what he said. So it does not sound like anybody in Pittsburgh wants Aaron Rodgers there.
But he had a lot better. He had a better season than their quarterback last year. Oh, yeah. So, I mean, that's that. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think there's probably a chance that Aaron Rodgers retires. And if he
Yeah,
retires,
I definitely think there's a shot at that.
yeah, he is the. I mean, last year he was the oldest quarterback, the oldest player in the league, the oldest quarterback in the league. So if he comes back, I think it's only going to be for 1, maybe 2 years at the most.
Yeah.
And I think out of everybody on this list, he's the best bridge quarterback you can get. Because the only other person that's would be a bridge quarterback is Russell Wilson. I think Aaron Rodgers has more in his tank than Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson's a little bit younger. He didn't have quite as good season. He missed the whole beginning of the season though. Had less than 2,500 yards, 16 touchdowns, but only 5 interceptions. So he did take care of the ball. And he had an okay season. Where do you see him ending up? Do you have any thoughts or ideas?
Oh.
Russell Wilson. He's the last quarterback I have on my list. Yeah.
I think either Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson is going to end up in Las Vegas, starting at quarterback for the Raiders. And because you keep on saying how they're both bridge quarterbacks, and I don't know if you've seen the news yet or not, Dad, but Las Vegas has already come out and said that they want to try and trade up to number 1 to take the quarterback out of Miami.
You're breaking up really bad, Brandon.
That's fucking stupid. That keeps on going in and out. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, you're just breaking up. You're cutting out. But yeah, I heard what you said, that the Raiders are interested in moving up to get Miami,
to get
the
that
University of
quarterback
Miami,
out of,
Cam Ward-Bright.
Yeah.
Even if they do that, I mean, Aaron Rodgers and I believe Russell Wilson, the only reason why you would get him, if you got one of those players, you would also need to get a young quarterback. You know what I'm saying? And do the whole Green Bay kind of thing where you set them for a year and let them play. So,
and that's what I think either Aaron Rodgers or Russell Wilson can end up there, so that way we'll start. And then that quarterback, if they were to trade up to 1 and get him, he'd be able to sit behind them and learn for at least a year or 2.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. And so I have a hunch on where Russell Wilson is going to end up. Do you want to hear what I'm thinking?
Where at?
The New York Football Jets. I think we're going to have him in the AFC East. Because if you
so he leaves Pittsburgh just to go to the Jets.
Well, the Pittsburgh, he doesn't leave Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh doesn't want him. Pittsburgh doesn't want him. I believe
Jets also didn't want Aaron Rodgers, so why would they want another old quarterback?
Okay, they're not drafting high enough to get a quarterback. This quarterback draft sucks. There's only 2 that are even projected to maybe be able to start in the NFL. They have one of these quarterbacks has to go to the Jets. You see what I'm saying? So the Jets have no quarterback now. They don't have a quarterback on their roster. So somebody has to go to them. And I think
Justin Fields potential landing spot for New York.
You need to fix your internet. Only I think the only way that Justin Fields ends up in New York is if New York. I think there's going to be quite a few teams interested in Justin Fields, and he's going to be able to pick where he wants to go. And so, unless the Jets offer him quite a bit more money than everybody else, I don't see him going there. In my opinion, I think Russell Wilson is going to end up there because nobody else wants to go to the Jets, and Russell Wilson kind of don't. I think out of all these guys, Russell Wilson will probably have the least market, the least teams of wanting him. Do you think that, or do you think that's going to be Aaron Rodgers? It's a coin flip, really.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely think both of them are going to be going somewhere, but I'm not really sure where and if they're going to both be backups.
No, none of these guys. I believe that none of these guys we're talking about are going to be backups.
So you think Rodgers and Russell Wilson are going to be starting somewhere next year?
Definitely, there's too many teams that don't have a quarterback, and there's only two.
Okay, there we go. My fucking internet fixed itself.
Okay, cool.
Finally.
And there's only two potential starting quarterbacks in the draft. Okay,
Yeah.
so say Tennessee and Cleveland, pick one, pick two. They take the two quarterbacks. We still have a bunch of teams that don't have a quarterback. We got the Raiders, Pittsburgh, New York. None of these teams have quarterbacks.
Well, actually, we're forgetting that both New York teams don't have a quarterback.
Yes. I have
The
Matthew
Giants don't have
Stafford.
one
I think they're trading to
Okay.
the Rams. So yes, it'll either be the Giants or the Rams that won't have a quarterback. One of them. If they get rid of Matthew Stafford, then they'll need a quarterback. So does that make sense?
Aaron won't be back up if he plays. Okay, gotcha, Rich.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, if any of these guys would be a backup, especially like Sam Darnold, Justin Fields, Aaron Rodgers, Russell Wilson, I would want them to come to Miami and be the backup because they're going to start once Tua gets hurt.
Well, I definitely don't see Sam Darnold or Justin Fields being backups because they're both pretty young and stuff. I could maybe see Sam Darnold being a backup, especially if he has a shitty season this year.
But he's not going to take a backup gig off the year he just had.
Not after having the year that he had now.
Right. And there's going to be too many teams that want Justin Fields as a starter. You know what I'm saying? So, All right, cool. Well, there we go. Those are my quarterbacks. Did you have any other quarterback? Because after that, you got guys like Minshew, anybody like that. To me, those are the top free agent quarterbacks. What do you think?
Yeah, I did not have any other quarterbacks.
All right, cool. Then let's move on to wide receiver. My wide receiver one, the best free agent is by far T. Higgins. So had 73 receptions, 911 yards, and a whopping 10 touchdowns.
Listen, okay, I wanted to say real quick, Rich, that what you state may be true that Justin Fields is not good, but we're talking about a league that paid a man by the name of Brock Osweiler $60 million over a course of 4 years. So remember that in mind.
And remember the whole beginning of last season when he was the starter in Pittsburgh. He actually played really good and took care of the ball. And he's a dual threat. I would much rather have Justin Fields than a lot of actual starting quarterbacks in the league right now. So, in my personal opinion, I think his upside is so big. You know what I'm saying? So that's just my opinion though about the quarterbacks. So
talking about
T. Higgins, we're up. Yep.
Dude, in my personal opinion, I love T. Higgins. I think T. Higgins is the staple of a true number one wide receiver. I think he's just being overshadowed by Jamar Chase, which is clearly the better quarterback in Cincinnati. But with that being said, I think I don't see T. Higgins leaving Cincinnati, but if I did, I would hope he would come somewhere to like New England or somewhere that needs a true number one wide receiver. So that way he can be that standout guy. You know what I'm saying? Like there's a couple other teams outside of New England that needs a true number one, but I'm hoping he goes to a team that needs that true number one. And especially being New England, since that's my favorite team. But,
he is the only free agent wide receiver this year that is wide receiver one, I believe.
Yeah.
And I think he does. There's quite a few teams that need, if T. Higgins gets tagged and traded, can his new tag team His new team tag him. Oh, that's good. We need to look into that.
If
I
Higgins
do
gets
not.
tagged and traded, can his new team tag him next year? Yeah, I'm pretty sure they
Because you're
can.
allowed to get tagged twice, so that second tag
Yeah.
probably would go to the new team, but I wouldn't want
Hang
to
on,
say
let me
that for
look it
sure
up.
without I wouldn't want to say
If a
for sure.
player gets tagged and traded, can the
Okay,
new
so
team tag him the following season?
okay, so that is a possibility, and that's what we talked about
Yes, if
last
a
week.
player is tagged and traded, the new team can absolutely something tag him the next season is what it says. Yeah, they can
Okay.
tag the new team can tag him the next season.
All right, cool. Yes, Rich. They would be able to. So that's a great point right there. But there's a lot of teams that need a true wide receiver
I'm
one,
not sure, to be honest.
and and I believe that Higgins is the only one. Now, Rich, will you answer Gus? Can you see his comments? That's what he's asking. Okay, but anyways, my whole point is I think there is a chance. I've had a whole week to think about it, Brandon. There is a chance that he stays in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
So if they just like,
But
you
see,
know,
the only
remember
reason
how the
I came
Rams,
out,
remember how the Rams just threw away a few years ago, threw away all their draft picks and said, fuck them picks and just started getting guys. What if, what if Cincinnati just says, fuck that defense and just keeps drafting young guys, putting them on the defense and all their superstars are, I think that's an unhealthy way to do it. That's why I don't think it'll be done, but that is an option.
it worked out for the Eagles. So,
well, yeah. Well, when we start talking about defensive free agents, it's basically all of the good players on the Eagles defense are free agents this year. So it's going to be pretty rough. But anyway, T. Higgins, I have him as the Pats also. I either have him staying in Cincinnati or going to New England. Those are okay, cool.
well, see, I'm only thinking he's gonna stay in Cincinnati because I seen that there was a couple of chances that he could be traded, but then I started seeing reports that the organization came out and even Joe Burrow came out and said that ever intent to keep T. Higgins there. They want to tag him, and it sounds like they are going to use the tag on him and want to try to get a long-term deal done with him and not have to trade him.
Yeah, and I think that's smart. I think if there's any way they can do it, they need to do it. Miami has figured out how to pay Tyreek Hill and Waddle and sign Tua to a big contract. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Your quarterback is going on a whole lot of podcasts and shows saying that they need to get this fucking done. That's what he said. You know what I'm saying? So if your franchise quarterback is out there running his mouth, you kind of, in my opinion, if you're Cincinnati,
I mean,
Cincinnati,
Burrow
the reason why, go ahead.
I was going to say Burrow even came out and said that he would structure his contract to help them get a new contract done for T. Higgins because that's how much he wants T. Higgins to be on the team.
Right. Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm talking about. So that's why I think, and those are the reasons why I'm kind of leaning towards him staying in Cincinnati now, is because of that, how vocal Joe Burrow's been, those kind of things. Next up, my next wide receiver is Chris Godwin. He had 50 receptions, 576 yards.
What up, Connor?
5 touchdowns.
Wait,
how do you feel about
who?
Godwin, Chris Godwin?
Oh, okay.
Tampa Bay Bucks. I don't think there's a lot to talk about here. I think he is a true number 2. He's a great slot receiver. He's a great number 2 receiver. And the reason why I don't think there's a lot to talk about is because he's coming off of, like, those stats are only in he missed 7 games because of his ankle. I think he's staying a Buck. I think he'll be a Buck. They're going to keep him. So they will figure out how to keep him. I don't think he's going to
I,
actually hit free agency. So
I do not think he's going to remain a Buck.
really, okay.
I think he's going to join a new team, and he's going to join the Harbaugh brothers, and he's going to go to Charger. And that's
The
going to
Chargers?
be a great addition. It's going to go be a Charger, and I think that's going to be a great addition for Justin Herbert. Herbert will finally get a quarterback that he's been missing since they traded Keenan Allen. But yeah, I got Chris Godwin, who again is a really good wide receiver. It's just he's been hammered by injuries and overshadowed by Mike Evans.
Well, you could say overshadowed, or you could say they're the dynamic duo. You know what I'm saying? Because they're just, that's what I mean is he's a true number two. Him and Evans are a great combination. I don't think they want to break that up. Tampa Bay is an organization that cares about their long-term players. That's just my opinion. I just have that feeling that he's gonna be staying there. So, but that would be cool.
About him going to the Chargers?
Yeah, I think that would be pretty cool. I totally agree that is a good that is a good match. They could really use him. I think they need like a T. Higgins. I think they need a true number one. And I don't think Godwin is that, but they run the ball first, and their wide receivers is by committee. And I think Godwin would by far be the best wide receiver on that roster. The rookie last year, the little white boy, what's his name? Ladd McConkey. Yeah, he's
like that,
Ladd McConkey. He kind of is a Godwin. They're kind of the same. That's the problem that I have with it. You need a big-bodied receiver. That's what you need, that true number one receiver in LA for the Chargers. All right. And then my third wide receiver I have on my list is Amari Cooper. How do you feel about Amari Cooper? He had 44 receptions, 547 yards, 4 touchdowns in 14 games with Cleveland and Buffalo. The problem, you kind of can't go by those stats, in my opinion. I think Amari is no longer a wide receiver one, but he's probably the best wide receiver two out there, just my opinion. And Cleveland, they had really bad quarterback play this year. You know what I'm saying? And then when he went to Buffalo, he kind of doesn't fit that scheme. They didn't use him very much. You know what I'm saying? So, and that's, I didn't like that match before. I understand why they did it, just to create another threat on the field besides their tight ends, because that's all they have, or all they had. So I like Amari Cooper. He's definitely going to be out there, and I have the perfect team for him to go, and I think you'll be very excited about it. You ready?
Yep.
The Washington Commanders.
Okay.
Scary Terry gets some help, and it's what about Terry and Amari? That would be a really cool 1-2
I would really
punch.
like that. Yeah, that would be a really cool 1-2 tandem as well.
Yeah.
I gotta say, I really like Amari Cooper. He was a true number one when he first entered the league. He definitely is up there in age now, so he's definitely slowed down production, but he can still be a very effective wide receiver. Given the situation that he had in Cleveland, I think he played pretty damn well for Cleveland, because Cleveland was trying to use him as a true number one, even though he was up there and Amari Cooper almost did that. And he kept on between Jameis Winston and Deshaun Watson. And Jameis Winston was clearly the better quarterback, which we know how ass Jameis Winston is. So, yeah, I think he did really good there. And then he goes to Buffalo, and something was wrong there. It was just like every time Josh Allen made a pass to him, they wouldn't be on the same page. And it was just like overall, he didn't fit the scheme there that Buffalo runs. So in my opinion, Dad, got the best spot for Amari Cooper. And you're not going to believe this because they are in the NFC East as well. I think he goes back to Dallas.
Right. And there is a lot of rumors
of Lamb.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say as my second place, because there are quite a bit of rumors of Amari going back to Dallas. I don't think Dallas has the money. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and I don't see Dallas is strapped, dude. So I mean, they can make the money. I think Amari would be awesome in Dallas as a true number 2. They should have never got rid of him to begin with.
Cooper just needs a quarterback says, I absolutely.
Yeah, and he needs a system. Yeah, I totally agree. Your internet's messing up again, Brandon.
Yeah,
I totally agree with that, Gus. And he had a good quarterback in Buffalo, but they didn't use him because that he doesn't fit that system. They didn't, they used the two tight end system, and they never used him. They just had him on the field as a threat. And so, I think he would be great in Dallas. I think he'd be great in Washington. If I was Dan Quinn in Washington, I would almost go after him because they got a lot more money than Dallas does and cap space. I would go after Amari and look at it as if he comes to us, Terry will have its true number 2, but also I kept him out of Dallas. You know what I'm saying? So
Uncle Red said too many opportunities for Cooper to come back to the Cowboys after Stephon Diggs. That would be interesting to see the Diggs brothers playing on the same team.
Yeah. Actually, I cut my wide receiver list off at Amari Cooper. Stephon Diggs would be my next. He would be my next wide receiver up. I think he's washed. Just my opinion. I don't think he's as good as Godwin, Amari, or T. Higgins. But him in Dallas, that would be great. But I think that Texans are going to keep him. I mean, I'm almost positive, right? Don't you think?
Uncle Gus said Cooper in Washington would be awesome. I really think it would too, because Jaden Daniels has proven himself as a quarterback, and he's only a rookie. And then you got someone like Scary Terry that's a true number 1, and then you bring in Amari Cooper, who's a very talented wide receiver too. Oh my God, just thinking about it now would be crazy. Like you honestly would, if Amari Cooper could push them over that edge and take them to the Super Bowl, because they almost made it this year.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. With Stephon Diggs, since we brought him up, where do you think? Do you have any ideas where you would want him to go? I believe he's going to stay in Houston. I guess I can't say Texas because I could see him either going to Dallas or staying in Houston. Those are my 2.
That's actually hilarious because that's the same 2 teams that I got right now. I think he's going to stay in Houston, but if he is to leave Houston, I think he's going to go to Dallas.
Okay. Cool. He likes that no state tax in Texas, don't he? So there you go. Cool. Better, whole lot better in New York. All right, let's move on to running backs. I don't think the running backs free agents this year are very good. However, I do believe there is one that is a true dual threat starting running back, and that's Aaron Jones. He had 255 carries for 1,138 yards, 5 touchdowns, 51 receptions for another 408 yards, and 2 touchdowns receiving. The Vikings by far needs to bring this dude back. They need to. If they don't, they're dumb. But if they don't, I would love to see Aaron Jones go to Dallas. That would be badass. They would finally have that dual threat starting running back that they need in Dallas. So, what do you think about Aaron Jones? Do you like Aaron Jones as much as
Yeah.
me?
Yeah, I like Aaron Jones as well. It actually, now that you're reading his stats off to me, um, funny thing is, Gus, Dad doesn't have him on his list, but don't you worry, I got us covered on Nick Chubby. But anyways, I really do like Aaron Jones. And now that you read off the stats, I'm actually surprised at the age that he's at. He put up 1,100 and however many yards you just said.
Mm-hmm.
That impresses me a lot. That tells me that he's not slowing down anytime soon. I definitely agree with you, Dad, that it would be smart of him for Minnesota to bring him back. But if Minnesota wasn't to bring him back, I could see him potentially going to Dallas or to somewhere like maybe Cleveland or something, because if Cleveland's letting Nick Chubb test the water, which is
But they're
the word
letting
I've
Nick
got.
Chubb they're letting Nick Chubb go because they have Ford.
Well, that's true, but Ford's not better than Chubb, and he's not better than fucking Aaron Jones.
No, not at all. Aaron Jones. Aaron Jones is the only one on here that's actually a true starting running back. Everybody else, you would have to build a committee around them. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I can see what you're saying. So,
Uncle Rich
but
said the Cowboys will draft a running back before they pay one.
right, yeah, and I believe that. I believe that also. But I mean, I think the Cowboys need to wake up, dude, or Jerry Jones really needs to wake up because he won't spend money, but the Eagles spend money and go to the Super Bowl, and you're in the same division. You know what I'm saying? I mean, you have to spend some money, dude. I mean, just like I think they would have had a lot better season. Of course, I'm talking about Dallas right now. If they would have spent money and got Saquon Barkley or Derrick Henry or somebody like that last year, you know what I'm saying? And actually had, I don't know. But
well, I mean, we
it's
can
Jerry Jones.
single-handedly say that Saquon Barkley was the X factor of that Super Bowl push and win for the Philadelphia Eagles.
Right. Yep.
So that it should have hit Jerry Jones in the fucking face, and he should be looking to get a running back this season.
Yeah, but I'm with Rich. He's going to get one. Got 1,000 yards last year. Yeah, that's why he's a free agent. That's what I was getting ready to say. I knew he had 1,000 yards, but he also is a free agent, and he's not Aaron Jones. He needs a committee built around him. But yeah, he did have 1,000-yard season. Running backs, my next favorite one up is Najee Harris out of Pittsburgh. He had 263 carries for 1,043 yards, 6 touchdowns. But he's also a dual threat. He had another 36 receptions for another 283 yards. So I think Najee Harris Pittsburgh is really the problem is they have Jaylen Warren. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think they're going to keep both. I think they're going to, and Najee Harris they didn't pick up his 5th-year option, and he's going to be a free agent. And he was kind of betting on himself this last year. And with those, 1,000-yard back and another almost 300 in receiving yards, Najee Harris is a great blocker. He blocks really good on pass protection. He's not scared. He's a big guy. I really like Najee Harris. I think Najee Harris can go to a team that needs a starting running back, but also can work really good in a committee also but you can keep him. He's a 3-down back. You can keep him on the field and for pass pro and running. Do you like Najee Harris as much as I do?
I like Najee Harris, but not as much as you do. Najee Harris is, I don't know, man. I don't know. Najee Harris confuses me because he's built like Derrick Henry and Jerome Bettis and shit. Like he's built like a big back to take hits. But as soon as he gets whacked by one of the linebackers, he gets planted in the ground. And so I don't get Najee Harris. I'm not hating on him. I like Najee Harris to a certain standard, but I don't, I don't per se. He's not one of my favorite bats in the league.
Okay.
But I do think Pittsburgh is going to keep Jaylen Warren. I think that's the reason they didn't pick up the 5th-year option on Najee Harris is because they know that they want Jaylen Warren over him. So with that being said, I think Najee Harris is going to go be a starting running back for the Los Angeles Chargers.
Oh, for the Chargers?
For the Chargers.
Okay. I have them. I thought you were going to say the same team as me. I have them the Las Vegas Raiders. So
okay.
He looks like a Raider. You know what I'm saying? And
yeah.
And they want to be a run first team also. They need to get some toughness. And so I think they're gonna go after like Aaron Jones, Najee Harris, one of these guys that'll punch somebody in the mouth.
I've heard that the Raiders, Chargers, and Bears are all interested in Najee Harris.
Yep, I could see that. That would be.
But that's the thing. See, that's the thing. I thought that too, but he's not. See, Uncle Gus said Harris is another Henry. But he's not because
I think he is
over players. He can't run a linebacker over.
Yeah, he can. and Derrick Henry can't even run over the what's his name? The Eagles dude, the little white boy that put him down.
Cooper DeJean.
Yeah, Cooper DeJean. But
hey, listen.
Najee Harris is a tough guy. He'll run people over.
5 people that tackle Henry. Okay.
Yeah, but used to. But Najee Harris he's played hurt a lot. He hasn't been healthy, whole healthy seasons a lot. But he is, but he puts up over 1,000 yards every season. So, and another
Uncle Gus apparently liked your prediction of Najee Harris going there. Uncle Gus says Raiders need to get back to the nasty days.
Yeah, I totally agree. Running backs, I think you had one to talk about, which we already did. The only other running back I have is J.K. Dobbins. And the only reason why I put him on here is because he had 195 carries for 905 yards. So he almost hit that 1,000 yards. But he had 9 touchdowns. And then he's also a dual threat and had 150 something yards receiving also. I think that he is going to stay with the Chargers is what I believe. I believe that the Chargers will not get any of these guys and J.K. Dobbins will stay there. I heard their general manager, an interview with their general manager and just on a podcast. And I just heard they were interviewing him, and he really likes J.K. Dobbins. And I think, he's going to end up staying there. That's just my hunch. But if he does not stay there, then yes, I think they're in for one of these other guys. Definitely.
I like J.K. Dobbins. The thing is, he cannot stay healthy.
Yeah.
And that's been his major issue. And I don't think J.K. I could see him staying with the Chargers. But if he doesn't stay with the Chargers, I think J.K. Dobbins is going to go to another team, but he's going to go be a backup to another team. Like he's going to be that secondary back and not first down back. So that way, he can stay more healthy type shit.
Yeah, I think that's my personal opinion is I think he needs to be a part of a committee, which he is in Los Angeles with the Chargers. They do run a committee and they like to run a lot. Yeah. But he is that dual threat and he he scores a lot of touchdowns. So you know what I'm saying? He's a good short yardage back. He's not a real tough guy, but he's a decent running back. I mean, he got a little over 900 yards last year in a committee. So there you go. But yes, he cannot stay healthy. So there's all your skill players.
Well, the last running back that we had to talk about is Nick Chubb. And Nick Chubb got drafted in 2018 to the Cleveland Browns. And ever since then, let's see, he's been in the league for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. He's been in the league for 7 years now, and 4 out of those 7 years, he's put up over 1,000 yards. This past season in 2024, he had 102 attempts for 332 yards and 3 touchdowns. But you got to remember, he was hurt for over half the season as well. I think Nick Chubb is at one time he was my favorite running back in the league, and I think he still has the potential to be my favorite running back in the league. I think Chubb have to go somewhere where there's a really good offensive line and he can stay healthy in. And I think the team that would fit him the best would be the Chicago Bears.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was getting ready to say, Gus. He took words out of my mouth. He said he's a great third down back, and I think he would be. The problems I have with Chubb is that he has injury problems. Number one is, if him not being available is become, and that's why it was between him and J.K. Dobbins, because they both struggle with that. Chubb is a whole lot tougher than J.K. Dobbins, but he's not a dual threat running back. He isn't known for catching the ball out of the backfield, but he would work great in a committee. That's why I like him in Chicago. He would work great in a committee as that third down back. He would be a bad motherfucker because he's tough, and he would have to take less snaps, so he would probably be able to stay healthier. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I like that. Chicago would be a good matchup. I think so. Just as anybody that needs a third down back, you know what I'm saying? Miami has 2 scat backs. They need a big guy, a guy that's in short yardage, in goal line. You need a tough, big runner that can just go there through, between the tackles and get you that 1 or 2 yards that you need. So, and I think Nick Chubb is that guy as long as he can stay healthy. So, you agree?
Yeah, I definitely do. Yeah,
I'd like him to go to Miami. That would be pretty awesome. Probably not going to happen.
If Nick Chubb didn't have injury concern, I think he could be your overall down back, like, first down, second down, and third down. But I think with giving his injury history, I don't think you want to use Nick Chubb for all 3 downs because you're risking him for injury, because since he's been drafted, I think there's only been like 1 or 2 seasons out of the 7 that he's actually been able to stay healthy for the full season.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah,
Uncle Gus likes your prediction of Nick Chubb possibly going to Miami. He says, "Hell yeah, Miami, love it."
Yeah, as the third down back, that'd be freaking great. That would be pretty awesome. All right, so that's all your skill players. The other 2 guys on the offense that made my list as my top 12 free agents is left tackle Ronnie Stanley for the Ravens. He's 31 years old, former first-round pick. He was picked 6th overall years ago. His problem also is staying healthy. He has been hurt almost every year. He would get hurt, miss some games, except for his contract year in 2024. He started in all 17 games, and when he's there, when he's playing, he's a badass left tackle. And I was thinking the Ravens would probably move on from him because he's just hurt way too much. But the problem is that he did not get hurt last year, and so now they kind of got to pay the guy. You know what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
I could see him. The Ravens love their veterans, and left tackle is a prime position. You don't just find a great left tackle anywhere. You know what I'm saying? And you normally don't walk
Yeah.
away from them when your left tackle is as dominant as somebody like Stanley is. So I think they're going to pay him. The next one is more interesting, and that's Trey Smith, the right guard for the Chiefs. He's only 26 years old, but the reason why this is interesting, most people are, and you might be thinking, well, the Chiefs are just going to pay him. They're just going to extend his contract. He's only 26, and he's a great guard. But the problem is you can't pay everybody. And they got tons of money already wrapped up in that offensive line with their center, Creed Humphrey, and the left tackle, Joe Thuney. Already both have big contracts. So you can't pay everybody. And Trey Smith is in his contract year. He's going to get paid. He's a young guard he's a Pro Bowl guard. You know what I'm saying? So it's
Yeah.
and that's what Stanley was, a Pro Bowl left tackle. And that's why those are my two. I think they're the two best offensive linemen that are becoming free agents.
I gotta say, I would love to see either one of these guys come to New England because New England's offensive line is so ass, especially when David Andrews is not there. And this man has some serious concern going on with blood clots. He had it this past season. He had it the season before. I don't know what's going on with his body, but he keeps on getting blood clots for some reason. And yeah, New England needs offensive line help desperately. So I would love to see either one of these people come to New England.
Yeah, Miami does too. The problem is that Miami does not have a lot of cap, and these guys are going to be getting paid.
Hey, New England has the number one spot.
New England's got money. Yeah, New England's got money.
We have $122 million that we better be fucking spending.
Yeah, I would if I was a team like New England that needed, well, everybody always needs offensive line help. You know what I'm saying? But if you had the cap space, I would be going after Trey Smith and make him one of the highest paid guards in the league. He's a Pro Bowl guard. So, and you don't see him, they don't hit the market very often. But I mean, there is a chance that Kansas City keeps him, I guess. But you just can't pay everybody. You know what I'm saying? And Humphreys and Thuney are badass people that they have a lot of money invested in. You know what I'm saying? So, and that offensive line, and you just can't pay everybody. So, remember when I talked to you earlier when we were setting all this up, and I told you it was going to take us an hour just to talk about the offense?
Yeah, you was right.
We've been in here 59 minutes. We just now finished the offense. Yeah. So, and I know next week you want to start our rookie stuff because we got the combine this weekend, right?
Yeah.
Cool. What we can do is there some defensive players. We're not going to be able to spend as much time on defense because I can't stay on here all night. But there are some guys that I'm actually interested in, and one other point that I was going to make. What do you know? Khalil Mack for the Chargers. He is a free agent, edge rusher. He's coming off a 7-sack season, pretty good season. He's actually put 2 seasons back to back, 23 and 24, 2 pretty good seasons back to back. He is. I think they're going to try to keep him, but they can't keep everybody. You know what I'm saying? And they have Bosa. What do you think Khalil Mack will go to a different team? And if so, where would you like to see him go? He's probably my favorite edge rusher. I mean, there is Josh Sweat and Haason Reddick, but I like Khalil Mack probably the best out of the 3.
Yeah, I definitely like Khalil Mack the best out of the 3. I really like Khalil Mack. He has been dominant almost his entire career. I would like to honestly see him stay with the Chargers because I think especially as they grow under Harbaugh. Him and Joey Bosa is only going to get better. But if he doesn't stay with the Chargers, I think I don't know. Is there a team in the NFL East that needs a defensive line? I mean, I know New England doesn't. Does Miami need someone?
He's an edge rusher.
Yeah.
Washington would be a good team to see him go to.
Yeah. Washington would be good, but I don't know if they're gonna want to take him.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know.
So that's kind of I don't. Yeah. I'm kind of up. It'll be interesting to me to see where he goes. There are quite a few teams that need edge rusher.
I could maybe see him going to Miami. I mean, not Miami, Buffalo, but his age would maybe be a concern.
Yeah, but they did that. They did that before. You know what I'm saying?
Bring in Khalil Mack?
No, they bring in a veteran edge rusher.
Oh, yeah. They have Von Miller right now.
Well, Von Miller's a free agent. He's going to be moving on. So they're going to be moving on from Von Miller. So, bring in another guy, a veteran. They're known for that. So that's a good. Yeah, he might end up, but I hope not. God, I'd hate to play against Mac twice a year. That would suck. Defensive lineman. I can't never pronounce that dude's name, but Richard will know who I'm talking about. I'm guessing the Osa Abalaro. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but he's a defensive lineman, a really good defensive lineman for Dallas. He is a free agent. I'm guessing Dallas is definitely going to be keeping this guy. He had 7 sacks last year as a defensive lineman, not even as an edge rusher. So that'll be interesting. But here's my point. In the linebackers, there are a few linebackers that are really good, that are interesting. But check this out. I don't know if you've noticed this. There's Josh Sweat, which is an edge rusher for the Eagles. Okay. And then Milton Williams is a defensive lineman for the Eagles. And then you have Zach Bond, who is a linebacker for the Eagles. So all 3 of them are free agents, right, Brandon?
Yeah.
Well, Josh Sweat had eight sacks. Milton Williams had 10 sacks, and Zach Bond had 4 sacks. So we're looking at
oh my God.
How many? Or no, 6, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. So 18 sacks between 3 of these guys, and all 3 are free agents. So
that's crazy.
And talk about can't keep everybody. You know what I'm saying? Is they can't sign all of these guys. And that's how stacked their defense is.
Okay, now who the fuck was the guy with 10 sacks?
It was 6. He had 8. Josh Sweat, edge rusher Josh Sweat, had 8 sacks. Milton Williams had 6 sacks, and Zach Bond had 4 sacks. So it's 18.
Okay.
Between the 3. So, which I think is pretty cool. They can't keep everybody. So I don't know where these guys are going to go. But I would very well doubt that all 3 are going to go. Are going to stay on the Eagles. Yeah, Zach Bond he's a true linebacker. I would love to see
Zach Bond go to New England. We need a middle. We need a middle linebacker.
Yeah, he's that quarterback of the defense. So,
and that's what's New England's missing, because we keep on trying to make what's his fucking face, that one dude, the middle linebacker, and he is so ass playing that he's supposed to be like an outside linebacker, not a middle linebacker.
Right.
And
it's hard to play middle linebacker. Yeah. So, but I thought that was interesting. There's a couple other ones. Nick Bolton from Kansas City. He's a free agent, and so that's interesting to see what they do about that. And then Dre Greenlaw, he didn't have a good season because he's coming off of that Achilles injury, where he had an Achilles injury in the Super Bowl, and then that was San Francisco. He plays for San Francisco. He got it hurt in the Super Bowl, and then last year he came back, and 4 games in, he was hurt again. So he's supposed to be completely healthy, but he's a free agent. So it'd be interesting to see. Those are three pretty good linebackers.
My thing is this, Dad. Okay, this is my thing with Drake Greenlaw. I love Greenlaw, but I think he needs to try to find a way to stay on San Francisco, because I think San Francisco is going to be the only team that is willing to pay him money, especially the money that he's probably looking for, because I think the other team, 31 teams, is going to be cautious about that, because Drake Greenlaw is, I believe, approaching 30 years old.
Yep,
and which is pretty old for a defensive player.
And he's coming off of that Achilles.
Right, and that's where I was going with it. Just like everybody was cautious about Aaron Rodgers with that Achilles, that's how a defensive player is when he's getting up there in age. Everybody's cautious about he's going to be able to fully recover from that. They say he's 100%, but we've seen how Aaron Rodgers was when he was supposed to be 100% coming off the Achilles.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So.
Yep. Yeah, no, I totally agree. And that's kind of it. I had to write some names down, but if you are, there you go. That's it. Pronounce that last name, Brandon. Odighizuwa. Odighizuwa. Odighizuwa.
Odighizuwa.
That's so cool. I told you it's hard as fuck to pronounce, dude. I got it written down, and I'm like, I still don't know how to pronounce it. But I like the way he broke it. Odighizuwa. So that dude's actually, he's pretty badass. He had something like I think 7 sacks as a defensive lineman. So like as a big boy defensive lineman, he had 7 sacks. So that's pretty good. What you do not want, that helped with the pronunciation. What you do not want is to need a cornerback or safety this year going into free agency, because there is not any good ones. There's a bunch of no-name crappy dudes. DJ Reed is probably the most famous one, and he didn't have any interceptions last year. He's okay. You know what I'm saying, for the Jets, DJ Reed.
Yeah.
He's okay. He's not great or nothing, and it kind of sucks because there's a lot of teams out there that need corners. Miami actually they only have one. You know what I'm saying? So one starting cornerback, so they need another corner, but that free agency is not the place to be looking for corners.
That also sucks for New England, because we need a true number 2 to go alongside Christian Gonzalez, and the market's not good this year. So
supposedly, we're gonna start looking into the draft now, so that it's hopefully it's supposed to be a pretty good year for cornerbacks in the draft. So that's pretty good. Might be taking a cornerback high if you're one of those teams that need one, because there's not going to be a lot in free agency. There's a lot of guys, nobody good.
If Travis Hunter does what you say that he could do, then I would not mind New England taking him at 3 or 4, wherever the fuck we pick at. I think we're at 3 or something. And I wouldn't mind taking Travis Hunter if he plays offense and defense.
Yeah, that would be great. That would be
then he could be our number 2 across Christian Gonzalez and be our true number 1 wide receiver.
All right, but now we're starting to talk about shit for next week. So shut up.
Well,
that's all next week. I think we're doing our first mock draft next week, right?
Yeah.
So basically, we're going to be doing. Before we wrap this up, safeties. There is one, Cameron Bond from Minnesota, from that badass Minnesota defense. He was a safety with 3 interceptions. He had 3 interceptions on the year. So Javon Holland from Miami is a free agent. Miami is not going to keep him. He's that guy that he had a really great rookie year, second year, and then kind of fell off. Last year had a really, really bad season, and they're going to let him walk, but he's projected to get paid. So There you go. Digazua is PFF predicts him to make $20 million a year. Is Rich? Is Dallas going to pay him that? That's what I was saying. The dude got what? He got what? I wrote it down. 7 sacks as a defensive lineman. That's pretty damn good. So that's it. That's all I had. Those are my 12 defensive players. Hassan Reddick. Did we talk about him?
We have not yet. No.
Edge rusher Hassan Reddick is a free agent. How do you feel about him? I've always liked him. I think the Jets might keep him. He didn't have a great season, only had a few sacks though.
I honestly like Hassan Reddick.
I do too.
I felt like he was pretty good for the Cardinals when he first entered the league.
Yep.
And then I feel like since then he's just been tossed around a couple of times. Where did he play at this past season? Was it
Jets.
Philadelphia?
Jets.
Oh, with the Jets?
Yep.
Okay. He's good at the Jets.
Mm-hmm.
I think some team, maybe like the Eagles, are going to swoop in and try to get him.
And then he'll end up going there. And yeah, so he plays for the Jets for a year and gets 3 sacks. He'll go to the Eagles and then get like 13. So,
right.
So yeah, it's ridiculous.
Before we hop off, I would like to address one more thing with you real quick, if that's fine. So the Rams are asking for a first-round pick for Matthew Stafford, right? Well,
I mean, they can ask for.
Yeah, they're asking for it. I don't know if a team's going to be willing to get that up, especially if you're inside the top 5. But my thing is, I'm guessing Matthew Stafford caught wind of them asking for a first round for him and came out and requested his own thing. And he's requesting that his new team pay him $50 million per year. There is no way a team's going to give up a high first-round pick and pay you $50 million a year, and you're like 37, bro. There ain't no fucking way.
I mean, the fucking Dolphins. Don't say there ain't no way. The Dolphins paid Tua $50,000 a year. Tua ain't worth no $50,000 a year.
Right.
I'd rather have Matthew Stafford and pay him $50,000
younger than Matthew Stafford.
Okay, well, if I was the owner of the Dolphins, I'd trade him. I'll trade you. I'll give you Tua. You give me Matthew, you pay Tua 50, and I'll pay Matthew 50. And then for the next 2 years, I have a chance to go to the Super Bowl. With Tua, you ain't got no damn chance to go to the Super Bowl because Tua's going to get hurt and be sitting on the bench. You better have a good backup. So, Matthew Stafford is definitely worth. He probably only wants like a 2-year contract. He's going to play for another 2 years.
I don't know. Well, I mean, right there's $100 million.
Yeah, 2 years, $100 million. There you go. That sounds good. Let's do it. 2 years, $100 million.
You done traded a fucking first-round pick away for him?
I'm not giving him. If I'm drafting really high in the draft, when I mean high, I mean in the top half of the draft, I'm not giving him a first-round pick. I'll do a first-round swap and give them my pick. They give me theirs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And something else. So. Yeah, no doubt. Somebody.
To be honest,
the dog.
I think I need a fucking
Doge.
Whatchamacallit, internet cord. I'm gonna have to get an internet cord.
Yeah, you're gonna need something before next week. Hey, why is there people in the damn chat and there's only one like on this YouTube page?
Come on, guys.
Y'all hit the damn like button. Don't y'all know how to do shit? Hit the damn like button.
All right, guys. I think we're going to call it a podcast. But before we go, we will be back. Actually, I got T-Mobile Wi-Fi. All right. Anyways, but when we come back next week, we are going to be doing. See you later, Connor. Next week, we are going to be doing our draft stuff. We're going to be getting into the combine. I think
takeaways from the combine.
Thursday, doesn't it? It starts this
Thursday. Takeaways from the combine.
Yeah.
And our very first mock draft.
Yep, we're gonna be doing mock draft
1.0.
1.0. So yeah, we're gonna be breaking down the combine. I don't know exactly who runs Monday through or Thursday through Tuesday until we come back. Because I think it's Thursday through next Sunday, isn't it?
It's Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. Yeah. So for the next,
so it'll be over before we come back next week.
Yeah, that's what we'll be able to watch it, do all that, and do our takeaways. Guys we liked, guys with whatever. There's always stories coming out of the combine.
Sweet. Yeah, well, we'll be breaking down whoever stood out to us and all that. We'll be breaking all that down on Tuesday, and we'll be doing our draft 1.0. Anyways, guys, until Tuesday, we're out of here. Peace.
Peace, y'all.